Hey guys, welcome to the next lesson. Here we are going to have a look at executing commands using the bash shell. Let's have a look at my screen right now. First of all, you need to know your prompt, and this tells you whether you are logged in as a normal user or whether you're logged in as an administrative user. Let's have a look. So in this tab session, I'm logged in as the Linux user root, which is the administrative user, and you can see over here that I have that hash sign. And this is my visual indicator that I'm logged in as a root user. Moving on to the next tab, I'm logged in as a normal user, and I want you to see how the terminal prompt changes. All of a sudden, you can see $. And this is useful when you're going through Linux literature, because very often it will tell us with a hash or with a pound, pretty much the same thing, right? Or with a $sign, whether the command is to be executed as an administrative user or as a non-administrative user. Speaking of executing commands, commands may be executed in a number of ways. You could specify the command on its own, for example, ls. And sometimes commands can be used with options. So options determine how the command gets executed. Whenever the options are specified in square brackets like that, that is your visual indicator that the use of the option is optional. So any options that are outside of the square brackets are not optional, they are mandatory. And as per the Linux literature, whenever you see an ellipsis following an option, it means that you're allowed to make use of multiple options. Let's have a look. So given the command ls, I can run the ls command on its own. I can also make use of the ls command with an option. Am I limited to making use of the ls command with only one option, or am I allowed to make use of many options? So I could say ls-ld varlib, for example. And you can see that the option changes how the command gets executed. Another way in which you can make use of commands is to specify an argument. And again, I have an argument that is listed in square brackets over there. So that is your visual indicator that the use of the argument is optional. It's not mandatory. And you can see that we have an ellipsis outside of the arguments block. And that means that you are allowed to make use of multiple arguments. Let's have a look at that. So I'm going to run the ls-ldz command against the varlib directory as well as against boot. So what you can see over here is that the first part is my command itself. I have 3 options that are specified. And then I have 2 arguments. Now the same command would work without the options and without the arguments that are passed. I'm a firm believer in working smarter and not harder. So let's have a look at some of these more basic concepts. Making use of the up arrow, that will simply recall the previous command. Let's have a look. Up arrow, there we go. Nice and easy. Now, what you could also do is make use of something called tab completion, which will complete the command for you given sufficient uniqueness. Let's have a look at that in more detail. So I'm going to type out LSM. I'm going to hit tab, nothing happens. And that is because I have not specified sufficient uniqueness. And this is your cue that you have a lot of commands that begin with LSM. So let's go and hit tab once again. So the bash shell is telling me right now that I have a number of commands that begin with LSM. Those are LSM CLI, LSMD, LSMod. So if you wanted to type out the command LSM CLI, I need to specify one more unique character like that. Following tab, and it will complete it to LSM CLI. If you want to display all the commands from your command history, you can simply type out history. Let's have a look at that. So you can see that the previous command that I had executed was the history command. Before that was LSM CLI. So if you wanted to call a particular command from your history, you could say bang, and then the number that corresponds in your history. So for example, if I wanted to recall command number 4, I could say bang 4. Another neat tip that I have for you is that if you simply wanted to execute the previous command, you could say bang bang. And that will recall the previous command as per your history. Another neat trick is to recall an argument that was passed to the previous command. So having a look at my history, you can see that I have the command previously executed. Let's have a look at command number 3, that is ls-ld against the varlib directory. So I could say bang 3, enter. And say I wanted to change to that directory, I could say cd, that's the new command, and if you only wanted to recall the argument, you would use a bang $, and there you go. And it's all about working smarter. Another way in which you could have recalled your arguments is by saying alt dot. So what I could do over here is use the command ls-ldh alt dot, and we're recalling the command history over there. So that is the varlib directory. Hitting alt dot once again will continue to filter through all the arguments as per your command history. Finally, we have Control R. So as per your Linux documentation, as you can see over here, that whenever we have a reference to a caret symbol, that means the control key is to be used on your keyboard. So what the Control R instruction does is that it is our indicator that we can search through the command history. Let's have a look at that right now. So somewhere in my command history, I'd previously executed the lsm CLI command, and if I wanted to recall that command, I can use Control R, and I could refer to any part of the command as per the history. So I'm going to use CLI. And there's only one command in my command history that featured the characters CLI, and that is the lsm CLI command. If I do want to execute that command, I simply hit enter. If that is not the command that I wanted to execute, I can continue my search by using Control R.